going on? What's going on? What's going on, man? Thank you for joining us once again for another episode of the Sinkhole. Tonight we have the privilege. We haven't done two in a row before. So last month we had a music review and a Q and A, and tonight we have Jim Thacker of Kazen Music Group doing the same thing. What's going on, Jim?
Hey Terrell, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's been crazy couple weeks. All of us have been crazy busy. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, I heard the name. I know we had the chance to really meet at a retreat last fall, and
yep.
so yeah, we felt like you would have been the perfect person to have, especially because you have a background in music as far as like the a composition side as well. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But thank you for joining us. Thank you. I know you're a busy guy in Nashville, hanging out with in the country scene and whatnot. I just assume Nashville, the country scene. You're probably not
Oh yeah,
doing that, but I like that's the home base for it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it and looking forward to it.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah,
So yeah,
thanks for
we'll
being
get
here.
right to it. Yeah, definitely. We'll get right to it. So, what I think the term sync agent, a term that I've heard a few times over the last couple years or so. But what's the difference between like I say, a publisher or a library and a sync agent?
Yeah, good question. So really, the way I look at this now, everybody probably has different opinions about it, but the way I look at it is when I think of a music library or a production music library, certainly, I think of a bigger library that has a collection of thousands of songs and is really more angled towards supervisors coming to them and finding music through them. That's what I think of when I say the word library. To me, that's what that means. And then when I think of catalog, it's a little smaller version of that. Publisher is a funny term because it can be a lot of things. A publisher could be somebody that literally just administers your publishing. And some publishers go out and do sync rep too. Some don't, some just administer publishing, find homes for your music, whether it be sync or otherwise, or artist rep, things like that. So a publisher could be that. Sometimes a sync rep can also kind of administer publishing, right? So I am a sync rep. And what a sync rep typically does is they are more just what rep kind of means, representing your music directly to opportunities. So what I tend to do is I work directly with music supervisors, film producers, ad agencies, and even companies that are looking for music for ads, things like that. And I will get the briefs directly from those people and send music that I think from my artist that I think is appropriate for those needs. So I'm kind of out there actively repping the music. Not to say that libraries don't do that, they do, but they also, in some ways, it's nice because they have supervisors and people coming to them to find music. So I think a sync rep is a little more defined by the fact that usually a sync rep is out there actively, pursuing opportunities and pitching music directly for those. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, that's the way I'd look at those kind of three different things. And publishing is probably the least experience I've had. I'm not technically a publisher. So that one is, to me, a publisher is somebody who administers the music. A lot of times publishers in Nashville, publishers will, pitch music to artists, like country artists and things like that. The publishers, that's one of their primary jobs, is to collect a bunch of music. They know who's going to be cutting an album next month. So they have their published writers that are writing music specifically for those pitches. And then nowadays, almost every publisher, especially in Nashville, has a sync division. So what happens is a lot of the songs that get demoed out for an artist, maybe the artist doesn't cut it or the song sits there for a while. Well, guess what? They'll probably pitch it for sync. So most all publishers now delve into sync that I know, especially in Nashville anyway, probably LA the same way, I'd imagine. But yeah, so publishers can kind of tread those two grounds too and almost be a sync rep. So they kind of cross paths in a way.
No, well put, well put. So I see you have quite the assortment of equipment behind you. So you got your start as a artist and composer. I see. So how did I feel like that's like the natural journey with Pedro last month, and I know some others have started as an artist, a writer, or producer, and kind of evolved into a sync agent or a library. So yeah. So could you kind of walk us through like that journey for you? Like what was that moment of shifting, or more so incorporating the sync agent side?
Yeah, definitely. So the way it happened for me was that I definitely was a musician first. I did a lot of touring, playing as a live musician for a long time, and then a couple of friends of mine were doing sync here in Nashville and doing pretty well with it. So I kind of started writing with them, submitting songs, different things. And then got into the sync world that way as a composer. And I went through a period of probably 3 or 4 years where I was doing nothing but instrumental music, cues for libraries and things like that. I just really got into that world. And probably in 3 or 4 years, I think I did like 700 pieces of music. And I was also writing, working with artists and producing music. Probably had about 100 lyrical songs and about 700 instrumental songs after 4 or 5 years of doing this, just a full time, like just going. I actually had a job as well, kind of a part-time job. I was doing playing music live and doing sync at night, doing music at night when I could, or whenever I could fit it in. I was just writing. And then somewhere along the way, I started meeting some different people, supervisors, film directors. Some of those introductions were just through common friends and going to conferences like that, and started to meet these people and realized I had this catalog of music that wasn't necessarily signed, plus all these artists and I was working with and producing. So really the company that I have now organically happened with those songs that I produced and the artists that I produced. I started just by pitching those directly, and it started going pretty well. So then I decided, well, I'll reach out and get more music involved. And then on the other side of things, I just really tried to expand, and I still do that to this day, like every day, try to expand the network of music supervisors, film producers, all my clients on that end of things. I mean, I work tirelessly every day to expand that list too. So it really just happened organically, but certainly, like you said, Terrell, I came into it as a musician and then a composer first, and then producer, working with different artists and things. And then that just kind of organically led into the music sync and the sync rep thing, rather, because I just had met enough people on the other side of the game, the music supervisors and things to work with, where I had those opportunities directly. So it really happened, probably, certainly not overnight. I would say within an 8 to 10 year span of doing this, and it's only been like the last 2 or 3 years that I've really had the company officially, and I've been doing it as a company. So really, it's been a path that certainly has been a winding path, and just it's gone in all directions. But I ended up just organically having these opportunities, and now building a musical catalog to go along with that.
That's super cool how it just happened, just all naturally. I feel
Yeah.
like, so do you think, or have you ran into the issue? I've seen this with a lot of people that have had your journey or a journey like yours. Does the sync agent side of what you do, or that your business, kind of interfere with your output of music? I know we kind of dove into that last month, where some people just kind of slowly lose that creative aspect, or just don't have time for it because
Mhm.
they're getting placements, they're getting all these on behalf of other creatives. So do you even still make music, as
I
time
do.
permits?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And that's a great question. It's funny because when I started the company 3 years ago, I committed to myself. I just said, I'm going to do 50-50. I'll do the company 50% of the time. I'll do the writing 50% of the time. And probably this past year, I'm probably lucky if it was 70% business and 30% music. But I still am bound and determined to do the music. But to give an example, I have 3 artists that I work with that I'm doing tracks for, and I'm probably 3 months behind promising them those tracks to finish a song we're collaborating on like 3 different tracks. I finished one last week, but then things happen with me that's interesting, where I'll get a quick turnaround ask and none of my artists have it, and maybe it's in my wheelhouse. So I'll literally just stay up all night if I have to and do a song, or something, and maybe get a singer to do it with me if it's a female vocalist or something. But so I do still have my hand in production and in songwriting and in music quite a bit, and I still have the libraries that I worked with for years that I have relationships with. They'll still reach out to me and say, hey, in 3 months, could you have 6 songs for this particular thing, for a sports rock thing, and I'll say, sure. And then I'll just cut my time to do that. So I'll still do collections for libraries that I did for years, and and things like that. I still try to devote as much of my time to that as I can, because again, I love doing it, and it was such a big part of it. And it's also, a nice way to, you have to keep building that catalog, keep kind of supplying music to those libraries that are working for you. So I still work with other libraries, certainly production music libraries, that do different things than what I do. So I guess the shorter answer is I plan to continue, and I also plan, as this thing grows, it's just blown up in this last year in a good way, but it really is more of a struggle. So it's a great question. It's more of a struggle to do both. And certainly the music side, I mean, I was doing sometimes 8-10 hours a day of music, and now I will be lucky to get 3 or 4 hours of music in a day on a good day. Mostly now it's pitching artists to briefs, answering emails a lot, listening to music of other artists and things like that. So a lot of my time is devoted to that, and I love doing that as well. So it's nice if I can get to a 50-50 split somehow. I certainly would like that, and as this thing grows, I do a lot of it myself right now, although I've had 2 people come on to help me recently. So the company's growing that way, and that helps, because I was doing all of the contractual and agreement work and registrations and all that myself. And now I have somebody who's helping me with that, which is huge, because that takes that off my plate. And it's maybe a little more time to do a few songs, in a week, and continue producing music. So great question, and something that I definitely think about all the time, because I know library owners. When I first started doing this, I would talk to a couple of library owners that I knew, and they were great composers, but then they don't do any music or composing, because their libraries are huge now. These are a couple of guys who have huge libraries that just know they want to run the business. They did plenty of composing when they were younger, and they're fine with that. But I don't know. I think I always will want to keep my hand in the production side, because as everybody knows, most people here are probably artists, creators, and musicians. It really is. It's just so rewarding and fun, and especially once you start getting placements and you hear your music used. I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it, right? So I love getting placements for other artists. I love doing that. It's almost as much of a thrill, to be honest. But it's just something that I've done forever. So I probably will never give up the music side of things at all. So, but great question. I could go on forever about it, probably.
No, that's hey man, that's what we're here for, just to learn and to gain your wisdom and experience, man. So, so we've been kind of honing in on or advocating the idea that with sync and just being involved in sync, more than talent. You hear a song that they got placed, it's like, man, that song ain't even all that, or that cue is not even all that, because we learned that it's more about the talent, it's more about the person, and in relationship aspect too. So besides good music, Jim, like, what do you look for when you're trying to take on a new artist or a composer, things of that nature?
Yeah, that's an excellent question too. I think really, to me, the music does speak first. Like, especially if I don't know somebody, and somebody sends me a song and it's just a fantastic song, or one other thing too that factors in, and probably for a lot of libraries and a lot of sync reps, is if it's a music that I don't have a lot of, and it's something that strikes me, that helps. So it almost is, in some ways, tough if you do something that's unique, because there's less bandwidth in the market for it necessarily. But it's also can be an advantage, because somebody like me, like last month or a few months ago now, probably, I had a couple of different requests for an authentic Latin jazz artist, like somebody from Brazil or from Cuba that did Latin jazz. And I don't have an artist like that. So it made me realize I need to maybe find something for my catalog in that respect. So that uniqueness can be helpful, I think. But I think really the bottom line beyond the music, because there's so much great music out there, of course, and in every style you can imagine. I think one thing that I look for is somebody who is easy to work with, has the attitude is everything, professionalism, the things you guys have probably heard, everybody's heard over and over, but it's so true. Answer an email if somebody emails you, respond, and even if it's to respond to say, sorry, I don't have a song like that, or I can't do that, even just to respond to emails or to text or whatever it might be, when you're in a relationship with a supervisor or a sync rep or whatever it might be, library, whatever it might be. But I think first and foremost, you mentioned the word relationship, and that is so important with every business, but especially in this business. it might take a while to establish a relationship with somebody. It's taken me forever with some of the people I work with now every day. And it's some of that persistence, but I think the key for people is that there's a way to be persistent without being a pest, I guess, or being really, annoying. So I think that's important. I want to encourage people to be persistent. Like when you're trying to get in touch with somebody, definitely, email more than once and keep at it, because I've had situations for myself where somebody has emailed me. I've been to a conference, they email me, a few days after the conference, and I put the email somewhere. I usually have folders. I keep everything by conference or by meeting, and I'm going to go listen to them. And I will, honestly, I'll forget about it. And then they'll email me maybe 2 months later with a little disco link and say, I'm wondering if you had a chance to listen to my music. I'm including the link again. Something that simple that I can read in 10 seconds. And I've done this. I'll click on the link. I'll be like, how did I miss this? This is great. So persistence is huge, or again, maybe the timing. Like I'll listen to somebody and be like, I need some of this next month. So I'll contact that person. So the music does have to be good, of course, or good is a relative term. It's a subjective term, but the music has to be strong in whatever way it is. And then beyond that, it's having a good attitude and personality, easy to work with, and responsive. Those are the things that I respond to. When somebody is that way, I usually will at least answer somebody, even if we're not a match musically or something. I will certainly respond to people who kind of approach me that way. And I think most people you talk to on the side of it being a sync rep or a library or that are the same way. Some of them, including me, I guess, are so busy it's hard to respond to everything and everybody. But if you approach it the right way, usually somebody may respond, maybe even give you a little input, a little insight into your music, how it fits in the world of sync, those kind of things. I'm always willing to respond to somebody if they're respectful and professional. So I think that hopefully that answers your question, Terrell. But I think beyond the music, it's, just being professional, being easy to work with and easy to deal with, and not being, like totally overbearing. I mean, I've had people who do that. They'll just be like email every other day. And I even if their music was great, honestly, I might not look at the email. So it's just one of those things. And I think I've heard other supervisors and people like that say the same thing. It is a hard balance, but it's finding that balance of being persistent because you want somebody to end up hearing your music, but not being overbearing and just too much. And it's a fine line, right? Like I can't even tell you what that is, but one email a month is probably okay. 2 a week is probably not, I guess, to a certain person you're trying to connect with. So
Hey, Jim, I emailed you a couple hours ago, and I noticed that you didn't open the link that I sent you. So if you could do that, and then let me know what you think, and then rinse and repeat every few hours, right? That's the type of person that you're looking to get music from, right?
Right, exactly. And it's interesting, like little things I pick up that I wouldn't think are necessarily, but I've talked to other people, supervisors and things, that one person I know really well said, don't preface it with, I don't know if you saw my last email. A lot of people say, and I've done that before. I've sent emails like that. So I'm just as guilty, but I've stopped that because I've had 2 or 3 people in the supervisor world say, don't even bother preface it with that. Just act like they didn't and just start new. And some kind of short little blurb. Hey, I've got a few new songs. Please check it out. Easy as that. Just keep it simple and professional, I guess, is the best way to put it. You don't have to, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I wouldn't necessarily have thought that, but I've had a couple people say that to me about, not even mentioning an email you sent earlier. I'm not sure what the psychology of that is, but it's an interesting thing. And I guess I understand, it's like, just move on, just keep trying. And like I said, sometimes emails get lost. So I might not have even seen that last email, but if I click on a disco link and it's great, I'll probably contact somebody. So, if it's something I happen to be looking for this month or this week or whatever. So it's persistence, I think is a big thing. And that's what I did. I mean, I've said this before, if you guys have ever heard me speak probably, but one of my friends here in Nashville always says, too stupid to quit is like a motto, right? As far as being persistent, that probably applies to me because I really was, I got, turned down and rejected so many times over the years. And, I do like a 10-song collection and it'd get rejected. I'm like, what am I going to do now with these songs? Just time after time have that happening. And I just kept putting my head into the wall and hoping it would go through, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
And eventually it does. You know, you can find your niche.
I think that's such a huge part of sync, is being able to, one, stick with it in spite of the rejection, because there's going to be rejection. I can think of multiple contacts that I work with, and companies that I've sent music to, had a great kind of working relationship for a while. Everything went well. Then I sent an email out a few months later, even the next year, and it was like nothing. And like, I knew it wasn't going to be a situation where like I could let that freak me out to where I started like bugging them and like, hey, did you get my email? Hey, I really want to do this for you guys. That was not the approach. That was what I wanted to do, because I wanted to make sure that everything was still good with the relationship. But I had to just be like, okay, just chill out. It's probably fine. They're probably busy. 3 months later, they get in contact with me and say, hey, we got this great project. We think you're a perfect fit. So there was nothing wrong with the relationship. They just got busy, and I had to get to the place of being confident enough in my working relationship with them, and knowing that I have a quality product and the music that I'm doing is usable, and that we've had something in the past that they can come to that when they need, what I can kind of provide. So sticking with it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, even relationships you have established, like I had one supervisor I was working with, and I did a song. He needed something kind of quickly. And this tells you that this is kind of out of the film world, especially, but he needs something pretty quickly. So I actually did a track for the thing. He's like, okay, this is great. I'll submit it. And a month went by, and I knew they needed it quickly. So a month went by, and I'm like, that's, it's over. There's no way that that's happening. And so I was like you, I wanted to reach out, and I said, I just won't. Everybody has that feeling, right? And I'm like, I just won't do it. And a month later, he comes back and he's like, oh, sorry, the film was on hold for a little bit, but they're going to use that song.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like, and I had no idea, right? And I could have, it wouldn't hurt anything for me to email him, but sometimes you do the pitch and just kind of move on, and just keep motor and keep going. That's a great point, Andrew. Even with established relationships, sometimes things will go radio silent, and you always have that little voice in the back of your head saying, "Uh-oh, they don't like me anymore. What did I do?
Right.
What did I do to make them mad?" But
I think
it's nothing.
It's even harder when you're first getting started too, because there's so many like unknowns as to, well, what didn't I do that made them reach back out, or you don't understand that they do get real busy, and that there are probably a lot of people reaching out to them, or they have to answer emails for actual clients first over their composers and stuff like that. So exactly. a lot of it's a learning curve, and just being okay with not getting that response right away sometimes.
Yep. And also as an artist, or once you do start working with sync reps or libraries, understand that your music likely is being pitched all the time. But even on that end of things, there's such a, it's competitive, and there's so many things, music being thrown at music supervisors, that it is for sync reps and things. It's kind of the same thing, where we're just pitching music every day, and getting placements after. It's like I don't know. For me, it may be a 30-to-1 ratio. For every 30 pitches I do, I get a placement. So it's kind of the same thing as what you do as an artist. You put as much music out there as you can, right, give it to different agents and things, and it's something will hit, but it takes time, and it's not. If you're bad average ball, if it's 200 or 300, you can stay in the lineup. And sync, it's probably if you're at 10%, you're doing good, right? For placements. And even big companies are doing that. They're pitching thousands of songs, right? And maybe 10 are getting placed. So it's the ratio is the same in all levels of this. So that's something that I learned, and I didn't know, when I first started.
Yeah. Andrew, I think you had a question.
He answered it. So we kind of, part of it was just, in relation to the response to, composers and producers and stuff like that. But he covered it all.
Okay, cool. Well, Jim, we did have a few more questions, but I didn't want to badger you with the questions. We wanted to get straight into the review. We got a lot of people chomping at the bit, to have their music heard by a syncing, just someone who's actually in the business and pitches songs every day. So we can get right into that. And I think, I think we can get right into that. Mark, are you good on the technical side? Because Mark is our tech expert over here. Okay, cool. So the first submission is from Orion Farouk. I believe he's in the He's in the building. What's up, Orion? Nice to meet you. And his song or this piece is called "Stormy Days."
And then two, I don't know if I mentioned this before, Jim, but if you feel like you've heard enough, you can just give us a thumbs up or put your hand up. We don't have to listen to every song all the way through. So just like any listening panel, just thumbs up.
Yeah, I usually, just like any other, I'll usually do a verse chorus or if it's instrumental A/B section and just, and as always, people don't take offense. It's just so we can get to all your music. So
totally
doesn't mean it's awful or anything.
Perfect. All right, I'll load up this first one here.
Sun upon my skin. Doesn't matter now. The world I see is all black and gray, like an old TV. I wish I could change the channel and bring you back around. I wish I could hit rewind, but we're stuck in forward motion. They remind me of you. They make it just a little bit harder for me to say goodbye. I just can't wait to see you again. These days, it's the stormy days when the rain comes pouring down and the sun's behind the clouds. Stormy days when it's all too much for me and the sky it touches earth.
Yeah, great. Really good. All right, like it. Yeah, really nice vocal tone. Really love your voice tone. It sounds great. Cool track. I like the sound of the guitar too. That was really nice and great vibe to the track. Just a couple thoughts or comments on it. And this is probably the Nashville in me a little bit, so you have to excuse me, but I probably would have gotten to that chorus a little quicker. And that kind of applies to the sync world too, because when a supervisor or somebody like me is listening to the song, a lot of times we can fast forward and do things like that. But I wanted to hear the chorus, I guess. It's just a little quicker. You probably could have trimmed a couple lines, gotten there a bit quicker, because when the chorus kicked in, it was really cool too. And then the other thing you may have done as the song went on, it would have been nice in the chorus to have a few harmony parts in there, kind of to build the chorus. You might have done that in the second chorus. I don't know. But yeah, it sounded great. Really cool track, really cool vibe. And, a song like that could work well in, many of the shows, that you see, that use that kind of music, like, anything from, Chicago Fire, Grey's Anatomy, that kind of thing. So cool vibe for that kind of TV show thing, and film too. Probably it would work in really well, but I could see that landing in the space of TV, especially network. But great work, sounded awesome.
Yeah, I had a cool, like, melancholy kind of chill, laid back vibe, and like almost introspective. Like I could totally see it in the scene where somebody's just kind of thinking through things that have happened or like big events or something like that. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, nice work.
Yeah, good work, Orion. Next up, we have, there's no artist name on this one, but the piece is Maybe I'm in Love. I don't know, Mark, if you have the artist name?
Yeah, what list are you looking at?
This is the disco.
On disco? Yeah, some of the tracks, I didn't have time to go and change all the names in disco too. So if you look in the banners, can you see the banners on StreamYards? So yeah, this one is by Matthew Harvey.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, dope. Okay, I should have looked at the StreamYard. Okay,
all good. All right, number 2 here.
Yep.
Yeah, great. And again, another great vibe. Good work, Matthew. Yeah, really cool vibe. And I think again, this lives in that same space for me. Like, certainly could work in a like Andrew said earlier, a scene where somebody's thinking about something or contemplating something, or even a scene with, obviously two lovers in a scene in a show. But it definitely has a good vibe for that. The track sounds great. And I'm really glad that streaming is getting audio better, because I could hear the spatial things you're doing with the guitars, which, used to be couldn't hear that stuff, but really nice production that way. Really cool spatial stuff you're doing with those guitars and things. So great production. And and the vocals sound great. She sounds great on it. So, I mean, that track is there, it's just a matter of finding a home, right? And I think its potential would be, film maybe, but again, more TV for some reason. I'm feeling this, like, because, they use a wide range of that kind of stuff for a lot of shows, a lot of episodic television and Netflix shows too, so shows anywhere, not just necessarily network, but yeah, great work. Really cool track.
Good work, Matt. Good
There's
work.
a few people in the comments. I don't know if you saw. I can pull those up from YouTube. People were saying "Love Is Blind" and that it would fit in with that
definitely
show.
could hear that in Love Is Blind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hear that.
Yep.
Yeah. Good to hear, Sarah. Next up, we got Imsani with Musta Forgot Von Juan. I think it's gonna be hip hop. Yes, it's hip hop.
Rolex wearing, woo! Diamond ring wearing, woo! Kiss stealing, woo! Wheeling dealing, woo! Limousine ride, woo! Jet flying, woo! Knocking on the gun, woo! And I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Give me 2 pounds and a Ric Flair.
I can see it in their face, they think I've been done. They couldn't be more wrong, couldn't be more wrong. Been through the valley, but I'm headed to my kingdom. They must have forgot I play by my own rules. Must have forgot I'm a king, I don't lose. Yeah, they must have forgot I'm in the ring like Ric Flair. All of it's been clear. Look, I ain't been local for a while now. They feeling the style now. Legacies compiled now. I'm whistling wild child. My schedule too full for calls. Please send text. I'm all over your TV screens like Windex. Step out to the crib and they snap the photo while they bite style. I feel like the Apple logo. They all know that boy throwed up. But most these rappers more stubborn than Android owners. My closet look like I'm Rob Banks. They focus on the hip hop game. I'm in the league of my own Tom Hanks. $500,000 hit my account in half a year. Real estate, I Cleveland, Cavalier. They wondering what happened here. It's like TD Jakes mixed with Sean Cole. Plus a dose of the son-in-law of Matt Knowles. Nature boy unforgettable like Nat Cole. I can see it in their face, they think I've been done. They couldn't be more wrong, couldn't be more wrong. Been through the valley, but I'm headed to my kingdom. They must have forgot I play by my own rules.
They must have forgot
I'm a king, I don't lose.
We back
They
at
must have forgot I'm in the ring like
son.
Ric Flair. All of it's been clear. They must have forgot.
And guess it's time to get back on them. Must have forgot we killed tracks, no warning. Been a minute, but we still here. Still plotting, still scheming, man, be clear. You still rocking with the best. I said what I said, let me get it off my chest. Why these fakes and these phonies say they walk right? I'm the result, I've been surviving through these dark nights. A ring general, fighting till my last breath. Ric Flair on them, you surprised I got some left? Ha, it's red lasers, man, are all haters. Time's up, 1216 on your operators. Ha, and take a minute to compile that. Get it in your mind, take your time and rewind that. It's red lasers, man, are all haters. Time's up,
1216 on the operator. I can see it in their face, they think I've been done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great job. Very cool. Man, Ric Flair, how does that guy? I mean, he's just been around forever, and he's still like
he retires every year. Like he retires, retires again.
Yeah, great track, really cool. That chorus right away. I mean, struck me. Really cool stuff going on. I love the vocal stuff you're doing there, and yeah, just a really cool track overall. And again, I think that one's there, and that one has obviously space and to me a lot of places, but you could see certain advertising using that certainly wrestling, or sports, of some kind. But yeah, anything like that, but really, really good track. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about that, technically and production wise. I mean, you nailed it there. So really good stuff. Yeah.
Question for you on that. With a lot of hip hop songs like that start off with like the talking or crowd chants, is that something you would just instantly request, like
That's
an
what I was
alt
gonna say.
version, or
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, what was the end of the question?
how would you handle that situation? Like if someone submits a song where you think this is perfect, but it might have some like ad libs or some sort of like chanting and crowd noise, like obviously that doesn't work for sync. But I mean, how do you handle those situations?
It depends. Like, it's funny because I love that right away. To me, it had this kind of, I'm talking from a personal standpoint, it had this kind of James Brown.
Right.
Remember James Brown used to do those hype things like at the beginning of his songs? It reminded me of that. It had a real
Right.
kind of nod to that. And I loved it. So I might try to find a place, but I think, you can always do edits, right? You can always change. If somebody like the client didn't want that part, you could edit it and kind of kick right in on the chorus and do some kind of an edit. Maybe I would do, I mean, you have a point. Maybe I would do a version without that, but I liked it a lot. I mean, it caught my attention. So I don't know that I would suggest that. I mean, but I do take your point in the sync world where there may be some people that chorus, or they want to hear more traditional or something, but it's kind of funny because to me, that was just really, it was different, and it was kind of different enough where I wanted to keep listening at that point.
It set the tone for the whole track.
Yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah, you never know. That could be like perfect as like source or like in program, like walking into a club, like almost transition from source music to like utility music, or
True, yeah. Yeah, in a source situation, yeah. I mean, you do it. That's true too. But I was also thinking certain ad agencies like different now. They want something that's very ear catching and just catches you right away. And I was thinking that's an advantage there, because Apple and especially, I mean, they even mentioned Apple in the song, but the companies like that are liking stuff, I think, that's really ear catching and different, because they want you to look at the TV or look at the screen, look at the computer, whatever it might be, look at your phone. So I think they're using these songs that have these different kind of things. And that I thought of that when I've heard that intro too. The ad world is decent for that too. So it's a 50-50, because in a source situation, it may be a distraction. It may be, it may be kind of, what is that in those situations? So it's just dependent on the use. But good point. And you might want to have a different version of this without the intro, but I love the intro. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how. That's a good big question.
Yeah.
It's almost similar to like how a lot of times the vocals will sell a song even if they use the instrumental version. You mean like that catches their attention, but like they might not use it. But like an editor could be scrolling through a bunch of tracks, and like even if they need an instrumental, those vocals like pop out, and then they end up using the instrumental. You know what I mean? But it's just something that sets it apart.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. That happens all the time. And there's actually a term that I learned just a couple of years ago from supervisors called, they call it temp love, right? So like they'll love a song because of that, and they'll put it in there just because they love the song, and then it ends up sticking because it was a temporary situation and usage because of whatever, maybe that caught them, and they fall in love with it and use it, even though the intention, especially an editor, because an editor will do that just to put the scene down. And then the producer or director will come in, let's say a film or even a show or commercial will come in, and everybody kind of falls in love with the song. And the term is temp love, because they've fallen in love with the song that was supposed to be temporary. So yeah, you're right. And so many times I've seen where the vocals sell the song, and then you see the final usage and there's not maybe one line or no vocal. It's amazing, but the vocal definitely was what started off with. But then they started realizing, that it's in the way of the dialogue. We got to get rid of the verse. It's in the way of there. And then all of a sudden you're down to one little hook line, or maybe with that song, it's just the woes or something, So it's funny how that happens. And I see that time and time again too. You get to the final usage and it's like, wow, they took most, if not all, of the vocal out of that song, but hey, we got the placement.
Yeah. Temp love is interesting, especially like when it comes to like film music. Like so many composers get kind of accused of like ripping people off, but it's like, no, the director just like had insane temp love. It's like, no, get a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer.
Yep. So. That happens too. Yep. They want you to get closer to the original temp, and that can be dicey. You have to be careful, obviously, but there's ways of doing that. Of course, it's a vibe. Right? You can get as close to that vibe that they're liking as you want. Certainly you don't want to copyright infringe, but But, you know, there's ways to do it, obviously, with sounds and elements like that, and just kind of, you know, it's a gray area. But yeah, that happens a lot too, where they want you to recreate it, but you have to be careful. You can't recreate it exactly. Can't do a cover.
Yeah, that's very true. Good work, Imsani. Good work. We're gonna keep moving on. We got 20 more minutes or so. Sarah Galvin is next up. She's in the chat. What's up, Sarah? And her piece is 90s Time Machine. So I'm interested to hear this one. That's a cool title.
Yeah, good title. Yeah, nice work, Sarah. Cool. Yeah, it definitely has a 90s vibe to it. That even reminds me a little bit of that. I think it's a Blues Traveler tune. There's a Blues Traveler tune that uses that same progression. Can't remember the name of which. Runaround. So Runaround by Blues Traveler uses that same exact progression. But so it really has that feel and that sound of like a 90s band. I think there was a few things for it, like when you think about the world of sync, especially, there was a few things that struck me on this one. I think number one, the drums were a little busy and erratic in places, and that's okay once in a while, but I would maybe keep the drums a little more steady in spots, you know, less fills, less choppy in the drums, just to give it a real nice bass. And speaking of that, I didn't even realize, was there a bass guitar in there? I don't know if there was a bass. I didn't really hear it that well, so I'd like to hear a little more bass guitar. To give that low end, round out the low end in there. It was interesting with the guitar because the sound was really unique and kind of cool. It almost had this like kind of direct vibe and really cool. I see she said no. I think that meant no bass probably. So yeah, no, I would put a bass guitar on there to give it some foundation and support. And you know how you had the breakdown like halfway through? I would kind of maybe start with that. You know, let it build somewhere, like start with that kind of intro where there's a crash and you kind of are building it, and then let the song build from there. And you're doing like some lower guitar stuff at that point, keep it kind of low and then let it come up. And you know how we were just talking about the vocal would come off. A lot of times guitars up in that register that high in a sync situation, even commercials, even whatever, those are going to get taken out anyway because they'll be in the way of a dialogue, right? They're kind of high end kind of piercing sound. Now, if you flip that on its head and they want something that's more unique and standoutish, then it would work, because it's kind of remind me a little bit of like a Black Keys tone, right? It had that kind of whistle vibe to it that I like that kind of thing. So you could work with that. But yeah, cool track. I would say number one, get the drums a little straighter, put a bass on there if you can, and then work with the guitars. You know, do the high things, but not all the time. Kind of keep it more in the lower register and even a little less busy. Like I'm a guitar player and I started, you know, Eddie Van Halen and doing tapping and playing as much as I could. And I started submitting those, and people would be like, we can't use these. There's so much guitar on this. And so I'd submit one where literally I was playing like quarter notes, and I would get accepted and placements with those, or a lot of times they take the lead out anyway. So I think that's in the sync world with guitar. It's an instrument. You have to be careful with that, unless, again, there are specifics where they want that. But you're more times than not, you're going to see the guitar, just like a lead vocal, a lead guitar will go. I rarely put a lead guitar solo on anything that I do for production music. If it's a real song, kind of a song, yeah, you'd have lead guitar. But yeah, cool track, and it definitely has that 90s vibe. And I would lean more like the rhythm you're doing, the rhythm guitar, lean more into that, because that has what you say in the title, 90s Time Machine. It really hit that vibe. So cool track. Yeah. And I would just keep kind of working it and get a bass on there and see where it goes. But yeah, good job.
Yeah, I think all guitar players fall into the trap of like, here's my licks. Now's my chance. I get to show off.
Yeah.
I did that with like reality TV cues, thinking, man, this is just gonna be the best. You just go crazy. Yeah, exactly.
That's the last thing that they like with my stuff.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, like you said, there are really no hard rules. Like in some scenarios, that might exactly be what they want. It's just it's a matter of kind of creating the music that's gonna hopefully have the best chance of doing something. Maybe sometimes it calls for it, but a lot of times, like you said, those certain tones at certain area, if it's distracting from dialogue, that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, it really depends. If a scene with attitude or kids doing something, skateboarding or something, that probably could work, because it has the edge and the attitude you want. But yeah, it's tricky, and probably more times than not, that's not going to happen. But yeah, there's always exception. And somebody I saw put a thing down that said good title, and that is a good title. That's one thing with cues that most of us probably learned early on, but it's really important to have a title that's going to grab you. And I think Terrell said that, he's ready to listen to it, or one of you guys said, it makes me want to listen to it. And it is when I see a title that's cool and unique, it's like, oh, I want to see what this is about. So especially with cues, when you're naming cues, you don't have words to go by. So you got to come up with something that describes the cue, but also is going to catch a lot of times an editor's attention to say, oh, I got to hear what this is. It's a weird title. So yeah, good job.
One quick question on that. She did say that she did not add the bass just because she doesn't like mixing bass. I know it's very situational, obviously, but do you have any quick tips for someone, maybe if they're doing music like this and they're having problems mixing the bass in? Do you have any quick one-off tips that might help point them in the right direction?
That is a loaded question, because I will tell you a quick story. I literally today mixed a song of mine for the third time because of the bass. Bass is the bane, and I'm a bass player. I play bass as well. Bass is
That's
tough
why I
thing.
asked.
And it never, once I think, oh, I have the chain, I have it down, I know how to mix this bass guitar or this bass synth, I'll do it, and it's different. I can't even explain why. Like in the track, the bass sits differently, and it's not right. And I've looked at YouTube videos, I looked at manuals, do this, and this will get you the ultimate bass sound. And yeah, sometimes it does. But bass is so tricky, and I can see why you don't like mixing bass, because it can be a real pain. I just say we'd start with it. One thing I do now with bass right off the bat, and this is there's a couple of guys who do production that have told me this, and one thing I do right off the bat is do a high pass filter on it, on the bass guitar, right around. Like if you look at a high pass filter, once you look it up on YouTube or figure it out, Logic has one built in on their EQ. So you look for a high pass filter and dial it in about 80 to 100. Put it at what it says, 80 to 100. That'll knock all the frequencies there off. So that takes care of a lot of mud for me, and it probably is my basses or whatever. But I will do a high pass filter a lot of times on bass. And really on a lot of instruments. It works great on guitars, works great on vocal. You don't need 80 hertz on a vocal. So I really tend to use high pass filters a lot. And on bass, it especially helps. It really depends on the bass you have. I've been lucky enough to get a couple basses I love, and they do sound great on most tracks. But like I said, today I mixed one of my favorite bass guitars that I own, and I mixed it for a third time because it wasn't meshing with the kick drum. There's a ton of tricks. There's a ton of YouTube videos that can be a rabbit hole, but I'd say just go ahead and go for it. do the high pass and don't mix the bass in too strong. Just put it in there enough to support the track, because it can get away on you quickly. So just put enough in there to feel it, to kind of round out the bottom end at first, and then experiment. I still to this day experiment to try to find good bass tones. I mean, bass is elusive. You talk to any engineer, producer, it is one of the harder instruments to really, really get. Sometimes you get lucky and it sounds awesome. But then other times you can do everything you think is right and it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sit there. So it's a tricky instrument. So I feel your pain on that one.
Great advice. Thank you for addressing that.
Real good advice. Moving on, got time for a few more, then we're going to call it a night. Jim, if we don't get to all of because we won't get to all of the songs here tonight, would you want us to email you the disco link or?
Sure. Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Moving on. This guy, he's special to me. We've done music together, been doing it for a while. So to see his journey has been cool. This is Terrell Lamont. We have the same name, and this piece is called Ring.
Cool.
You said that you love me. I should've known that was a lie. And my friends tried to warn me. They said be careful, your love can be blind. My heart I gave you all night, but you let me down. And now I'm swimming here in my emotions all alone, drowning, you're so wrong. You said I need you, I need you. Oh, I wish I never met you at all. Should've let my guard down. Why'd I let you close? Sharing with you things only the Lord knows. I'm glad I never got that ring. Why you mad when I'm the one that's hurting? You built me up and broke me down, down, down. What goes around comes around. I gave it a try, I guess Cupid lied, or his aim was off, it hit me dead in the eye. See, I was blinded by the love when it was really a fable. You swooped in, then ripped my heart out like Kano. I guess that's what happens when mortals combat. We were fools, we rushed in, can't get that time back. And see, I live by a different code, we cut from a different cloth. I take responsibility, you say it's all my fault. That's out of control, you just had to feed it. I was your little project, exactly what you needed. Built me up, broke me down, left me used and depleted. I was low, but it wasn't enough, so you went and cheated. I'm mad, it took me so long to see it, but I'm better off without you. You is not what I needed. You elected for a fling when we could've been a team. Now hearing where the bells ring, only in your dreams. I'm glad I never got that ring. Why you mad when I'm the one that's hurting? You built me up and broke me down, down, down. What goes around comes around. I'm glad I never.
Yeah. Nice, Terrell. Cool. Yeah, I like this track. I think that, again, I was trying to think in the sync world where, the space, that's kind of what I tend to do. You guys probably noticed already. I tend to figure, okay, where in the sync world would this song fit? Again, I do think if this was a space for this would probably be TV, a show. Obviously, it's a little specific. That's one thing you guys probably hear a lot. But when a song is about a specific thing, like this is about, I didn't work out and you're glad you didn't get the ring, which is cool, by the way. That's a really cool hook. But I think that lends it to be a little more of an artist thing, right, to me, because it's more specific. It's more. It would be, what scene would you use that in? What it'd have to be a pretty specific scene where maybe a love isn't working out or something, right? So that's the only thing about it that I thought of with the kind of the lyric content. I like the melodies you're doing. I think I said it about another song earlier. I would have liked to have heard maybe the chorus a little earlier, get into the chorus a little earlier on this one. And also I like the breakdown part. I really liked the tone of your voice and the cadence you were doing in that breakdown part. So for me, I might personally want to hear that earlier because it's really cool. You got a great tone to your voice. It really resonates cool, and it really sounded great to me in that section. So that section, I don't know if you repeated it again because we didn't listen long enough, but that definitely part I would either have earlier or something in the song to kind of bring that element in because it was strong. And I did like what you did in the last chorus that we listened to, where you had that synth kind of repeating the melody up an octave, but not quite right on it. That was kind of cool. It caught my ear, and I thought it was neat having that synth double your vocal. So I might bring that in earlier. I know in an artist standpoint, you want to build the song, but sometimes with, sync and catching people's ear, you have to bring those elements in a little earlier. But other than that, cool work, great lyric, good lyric writing too. I mean, I definitely could see the story you're talking about, and I kind of I don't know if you did intentionally, but I like the whole ring idea, and you related it to bells, you related it to the ring, and then you related to the what goes around comes around. That was a really cool lyric that kind of specifically referred to like a circular thing or a ring. I don't know if you did that intentionally, but it was cool. So some great lyric writing too. So yeah, cool stuff.
Great stuff, Terrell. I'll probably got time for one more, Jim. What's your normal submission process? So because this video will go live on our channel on YouTube, and people will probably watch this. But I would love to. Even people in the room probably have some other ideas that they want to submit to you. So what's the best way to submit music to you?
Sure. Yeah, I do take submissions, and I have a submission page on my website, and it's kazenmusicgroup.com. And I have the guidelines there, and Andrew talking about this, so I'll kind of talk about it. But I have guidelines on how to submit. Usually it's 3 songs via Disco or SoundCloud, some kind of link. Don't send MP3s. And then send me an email with that link, and keep it to like your 3 best songs, and really put your best foot forward, because my first impression is going to be, not that I'd never listen to your song again, but my first impression is going to be my first impression. So make sure the songs are what you consider fully produced, ready to go. Probably run them through, like we all have the gauntlet of these kind of, sessions where you get advice. I wouldn't send me your first draft of something that nobody's ever heard. Make sure to go through the process of it and developing that song, and make sure you've had a great response from people. Kind of like I used to do. It was just my family and my mom. Go beyond that scope, and get your songs critiqued, put them through the ringer a little bit, and then go to people like me with them. Once you get a strong reaction from people like myself, and things like that, or those are the kinds of songs I would send. Because otherwise I have so many submissions on any given week that they'll get lost in the shuffle a little bit, unless they stand out. And I was also saying to Andrew earlier, we talked about this, that it could be a matter though of that's something that I'm looking for too. So it's never bad to send music, because I might be looking for a particular style on a given week, or a particular artist that I don't have enough of that style. So unique music is not a bad thing at all. So I don't mind unique, and what is good is all subjective to me. And we all hear songs in sync that we're like, well, I think you mentioned it earlier, Terrell, like the song isn't necessarily spectacular, but it just fits, So as long as it has a vibe too, that can work. But I would say, but long story short, put your best foot forward, send me 2 or 3 of your best. And if it's something that's a fit for me, I'll contact you, because I do try to listen to everything that's submitted. So that's probably the best way I could put it, is just make sure that it's your best music you can put out, and send it along, and we'll give it a listen.
Yeah, if I could jump in with that too, just to again, kind of some of the stuff that we were talking about, earlier, for anyone that's brand new or that is just learning about sync, I would totally encourage you to, like Jim said, get feedback, find out if it's there, because that's going to be beneficial for both you and him, right? So if you send it out there and you're waiting weeks and it's not a good fit for whatever reason, and it's Jim can't take his time and reply back to everybody that has sent him music and explain why. It's just because it's not just feasible from a time time perspective sort of thing. So it's better to really get a lot of good feedback from people in the industry that have done your type of music even, and can give you pointed kind of, input on how to get it, as close to what might be usable as possible. And then from there, like we said earlier, be super easy to work with. If you get an email, be ready to answer, know your stuff, understand how sync deals work. There's so many good resources online. And we're always going to encourage you to come back to, the Discord server and ask questions there, because it's just such a good community to bounce, those questions and thoughts off of one another. But have all that stuff ready to go, and know how to present yourself in a business manner and be professional. And that's just going to go so far,
Yeah, great points, and that's so true. Like for me, it's kind of what we talked about earlier. It's being professional and easy to approach, and but don't, if you send a song, I wouldn't send an email the next week and say, "Did you get my song?" And it's just, it takes time, and there's a process, and we do get a lot of songs. And Andrew had a great point. We get, hundreds of songs, so I can't necessarily respond to everybody, even though I'd love to, because I know what it means for somebody to, to hear from somebody. But Andrew's right. Just put it through, like I say, the gauntlet of other professionals in your realm. Conferences, things like this are amazing, because people are listening to your music. They'll listen to it with ears of sync, and these guys all have amazing things to say, and just kind of listen to that advice. And eventually, as you work on it, you also find libraries that are in your wheelhouse. Like I probably sent music to 10 libraries when I was first starting, and I got one library that, needed the kind of guitar music I was doing at the time. And I ended up with a ton of music with them because that's what they needed at that time. The other 9 libraries didn't answer me, and a couple of them I did end up eventually getting relationships with, but it just took time. It takes a lot of resilience, a lot of time, and a lot of just keep trying and get perspective on your music that's outside of your circle, that can tell you, okay, this is ready for sync in certain ways, because there are certain things that work and don't work. It's all subjective. That's the hard part, but there are certain rules, I guess, without lack of a better term.
Yeah, great advice, man. Great advice. So last one, that's a great note to close it on. So last submission for the night, like I said, all songs will be emailed to Jim, and
Cool.
you know how to submit as well. So we got Card Hop by Gerald Music. I believe he's still in the chat as well.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, it's not over. Yeah, cool. And we actually listened to the whole queue, so that's good. So that was probably what, about 2 minutes, minute and a half, 2 minutes long.
Minute 57.
Yeah, perfect. So great length for a queue, right? We all have heard that, or we all know that. So you know that. And yeah, cool queue. And I really like compositionally. I like what you're doing. There was like call and answer stuff was really fun. And yeah, it was kind of a unique piece, you know. And right when one of my comments was going to be, you know, I wanted to hear a little bit of a different section or a B section. And I was just even thinking transpose it a little bit, maybe keep the same thing, transpose it, you know. And so it was cool. You know, it was a cool cue. I think that, you know, I was trying to think of where this would land in the world of sync music. It could be quite a few things. Probably, you know, something of it. Almost, it was almost like what you call dramedy. It could fit, but it was up tempo. A lot of times dramedy is kind of more mid tempo, but it kind of had a dramedy feel. It could be maybe reality TV. You know, some kind of scene where somebody's getting into mischief or trouble. I thought of that, even though the tempo was a little quicker, but it works for that for sure. So depending on what kind of music you produce on a regular basis, you know, I see Paul just said video game. Yep, definitely. It was, yep, chip tune. He said, yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, any of those kind of shows, you know, reality shows, things like that, it certainly could work. And there are libraries that, you know, do collections of this kind of music. So not sure if you've done a lot of that, but it certainly fits in that world. So cool. Again, compositionally very cool. I like what you were doing there, and good kind of cool sounds, you know, and the nice stereo spreads of things, and the way that you were calling answering was really fun. So you definitely know what you're doing there. And yeah, it would just be finding that correct home for this style of music, which would probably be a library to me that does that style of shows or video games or things like that. So, but nice work.
Yeah, I could very easily hear that with just a small amount of tweaking and playing around with it right into like a dramedy, sort of like a reality, sneaky, you know, funny kind of quirky sound. Like I think that could totally be where it fits, you know, in like a broader kind of, you know, category or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, or like I think somebody put up real quick a tech show, you know, where they're doing something technical, or like, you know, some kind of how it's made. I think somebody said, yeah, how it's made. That's absolutely it. You know, that's where this kind of music would be great for that. So yeah, cool stuff.
Yep, good job, Jeremy. So yeah, thank you, Jim, once again. Thank you. Yeah, your wisdom, your experience, your knowledge, your scope of knowledge in this business is very helpful. Thank you for, like I said, taking the time out to join us here tonight. And yeah, we'll be back next month. We'll keep you posted on who the next guest is, and we're in the process of, you know, confirming that as we speak. So
yeah, thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
for real.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And sorry we didn't get to as many songs, but Terrell, please send those to me. Listen to everything.
Yeah,
and
sure
for the people, how many songs were there total, Terrell?
12.
12?
12 altogether, yeah.
We got through about half of them. So I'll listen
we
to
got halfway.
Yeah, I'll listen to the rest of them for sure. And you know, if there's anything there that catches me, I'll certainly reach out to folks. So because I'm always listening, you know, probably next week sometime I'll listen to the rest of these, but I'll certainly get to them. You know, I appreciate everybody submitting, and you know, I know what it's like to kind of be under that gauntlet. We've all been there, and I was there 100 times. So I appreciate you all submitting your music.
All right.
Thank you. Definitely.
Well, thank you all for joining us, and like always, we will be hanging out for a little bit in StreamYard for those that are in there. But I know a few of us are working on deadlines, so can't promise we'll be in there long. As always, you can join the Sinkhole Discord server. The link will be down in the description. Any final parting words, Jim, or anyone else?
No, this was a great episode.
All right, thank you all for joining us. And sorry, Jim, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to say I'll probably hang out for a few minutes. So I don't know how does it work in that? Can people ask questions or chat or whatever? I'm happy to answer a few questions. Yeah, I'll hang around for a few minutes, answer a few questions if anybody has any follow-up things.
It'll be like a big Zoom room, so I'll pull everyone in once we end the live stream here. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you again for another event next month. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
See y'all.